Hey guys, welcome back to the Free Drop podcast. Delighted to be joined today by Kaleigh Telfer. Kaleigh is certainly one of the rising stars in South African golf. In 2016, the top-ranked junior and open amateur player in the country, ranked 39th, I think it is, in the world at the moment. And yeah, was recently reached the quarterfinals of the US Women's Amateur, which is super impressive. So thanks so much, Kaleigh, for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How have things been, and how's Corona been treating you?
It was actually pretty nice. I got to spend 3 months at home with both my parents and my brother at home, because my parents weren't working and my brother wasn't at school. So it was nice for me to get that time together with my family. And then I just got back to America about a month ago, and everything's pretty normal here. You just got to wear a mask inside, but other than that, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's super interesting to see how the States has approached things relative to South Africa. I think here we've been quite hectic, but things certainly seem to be more chilled in the States.
Yeah, no, definitely it's a lot more chilled, but it's kind of nice coming from complete lockdown at home and then coming here and everything's pretty normal. Everyone's still aware of it, but life just goes on, I guess.
How much golf were you able to play before you left South Africa, or if at all?
Well, I actually, funny story. My parents found out that one of the golf courses was open, so we went out and played 9 holes. And when we were on like hole 7, the cops came and they told us to get off and said that the golf course wasn't actually meant to be open. So I played those 7 holes, and then about 3 days later, all the courses opened. So I just played 18 holes, and then I was on my way here. So not a lot at all.
How weird was it? Was it having the police come and escort you off the course? It must have been quite strange.
Yeah, it was very different, but we were kind of expecting it. We knew we went there without being the golf course is allowed to be open, but the siren went off and there was not a cloud in the sky. So I looked at my dad and I was like, "What do you think this is for?" And he's like, well, "Definitely the cops. We need to get out of here."
And what are those? I mean, you obviously had to take a couple flights back to the States. That must have been quite an interesting experience. I saw on Cara's Instagram that I think you guys met up in Joburg or whatever it is. What was that whole experience like? It must have been quite strange having to travel with a
Yeah,
mask.
definitely a different experience. I think we worked it out to be 45 hours with a mask on. Yeah, you just go somewhere in the corner and take it off to have a breath. But other than that, it was mask on. The planes were actually pretty full, so I thought it might be empty because people aren't traveling that much. But yeah, they were pretty full, just mask on, and you get all your sanitizers when you get on the plane to wipe your seat down, and so very different. But it was pretty good actually.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it is going to be. I think it is going to be like this for a while at least until there's a vaccine.
Yeah,
But
no, definitely.
yeah, and I mean, how much of a surprise was the week at the US for you? Because obviously you hadn't really played much here, and then how much time did you have to sort of get your game into shape
Yeah,
once you arrived?
so I ended up having exactly a month here before the USM, and I knew I had to put in the work that month before because everyone else here has been practicing and ever since college closed. So I knew I had to put in the work, and I took the first week just to slowly get into it with my jet lag and stuff. But once that was over, I was out there grinding pretty hard every day leading up to the tournament. And then I think the thing that helped me the most was I didn't really go in there with any expectations at all. I was just happy to be playing a tournament again. And I think that helped to play some good golf because I wasn't expecting anything.
But I suppose it is quite nice because if you're not really expecting much, it does free you up. I'd imagine to really just chill and see what happens.
Yeah, no, definitely. I wasn't really worried or nervous or anything when I got onto the first tee. I was just happy to be out there and take it shot by shot.
And the course, how long did it take you to sort of figure out like your lines of tees and things like that?
Yeah, so we had 2 practice rounds actually, which I think we needed. The course was a pretty tough course, a lot of dog legs, not a lot of drivers off the tee. And to be honest, the thing that was the most challenging for me was reading a green again. So I spent a lot of time on the greens in the practice round just to get that ready, and it seemed to work.
Yeah, I've heard from quite a few people that the greens in the States are a lot more challenging than a lot of the courses in South Africa. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's pretty good statement. A lot of undulations here, and then as well as grain, so it's both, not just one or the other.
Yeah. And in terms of pace, I mean, what can you generally expect?
Um, Definitely way faster than home.
Yeah.
They normal good tournaments are running around 11 on the stimp,
Okay.
and back home is probably 9, so it's a lot faster.
Yeah.
But I enjoy that. It makes the greens a lot more true.
Yeah. So, I mean, getting to the tournament itself, you opened up the stroke play qualifier with 71 and then followed up with 75. To Was there a six-way tie for 18th, or how did that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And I mean, what are your feelings going into the match play? I mean, were you pretty confident about where your game was at, or what are your feelings around that?
Yeah, definitely after my first round 71, it actually took me by surprise that I was able to shoot under par my first round back. But I think it boosted my confidence a little bit. And then I knew that going into match play, anything can happen, and I just got to play against the girl I'm playing against. So it didn't really matter what happened. If I had a bad hole or a good hole, I just put it behind me and kept on going. So I think that helped a lot. And yeah,
That 6-5 win, how much of a surprise was that? I mean, obviously, you certainly seem to get on a bit of a roll early on, and then is it just a case of you just keep pushing, or how did the match progress?
yeah. So I actually started off with 4 birdies,
Yeah,
5 birdies, I think, in the first 5 holes, and I was four
yeah,
up after 5. And it also again took me by surprise. I just was making every putt, and then after that, I said to myself, like, normally I tend to try hold on to my lead, and I changed my mindset this tournament and said, let's see how much I can beat her by. And I think that helped me a lot. Just trying to hit it closer and make more putts, so that helped a lot. So I just kept the pressure on.
and I suppose it's also, and I mean, it's such a long week that it's quite important to conserve your energy in those early rounds and try and finish them off as quickly as possible.
Yeah, exactly. It was a very long week. I mean, I hadn't walked 18 holes since March, before I played that tournament. And then we had a few rain delays, and a hurricane came through one of the days. So we took an off day, which was actually pretty nice. That was before the first round of match play, I think it was. And it was just nice to take a break. And then after that, I knew it was going to be a long week from there. It was 18 holes the first round, and then 36 after that if you kept winning. So definitely it was nice to finish off my first match quickly so I could get a good rest for the next day.
And when you look at the draw and your half of the draw, I mean, are there like how many of the names were you familiar with, and like how much did you know about the opponents that you came up against?
Yeah, so I didn't really know much about the first 2 players, and then I met Rachel Keane in the round of 16, I think, and she's been coming off a few good wins this summer, a great player, and I knew I had to play my best golf against her to have a chance in beating her, and it just happened that I hit some really close shots, almost hold it out twice. And I was just lucky to be able to beat her. And then I knew after that I'd have a chance in actually winning.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm stoked that you actually pronounced her surname first, because I was not keen to give that a go. I was
Yeah.
like reading it beforehand and I was like, I don't know which way to go. But yeah, and then, obviously, um, the next one was quite a long one. I mean, to go 20 holes must have been quite mentally draining, and especially to leave it as late as you did must have been. I mean, like, is it nerve wracking for you, or do you just are you very much like one of those people that is in the moment all the time and doesn't get too far ahead of
Yeah.
yourself?
So honestly, normally I get pretty nervous in the beginning of the round and then towards the end. But for some reason, this tournament, I wasn't nervous at all. I felt like I was in control, even though I was 3 down with 3 to play, or 4 to play.
Mm.
I still felt like I was in control. I wasn't playing bad at all. She was just playing a lot better. I think I was 3 down and I was 2 under, and she was
Jeez.
just playing really good golf. And I hit my shot to about a foot on hole 16, which is a long par three, 200 yards. And I think that just turned it on, and I was able to put the pressure on her from then, and then I was just able to close it out.
How much does the whole TV dynamic, because Golf Channel like film it and whatever, how much does that add to the pressure, if at all?
Honestly, it just drives me.
Okay.
I would, yeah. I've had a lot of experience with it previously in other tournaments, and I've noticed that I play probably my best golf when the TVs are on. I just want them
Wow.
to see my good shots and my best play. So I think it drives me, and yeah, I actually really enjoy it.
So you're obviously thinking about turning pro then?
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to know. I mean, when you're involved in such a tight contest like that, I mean, how much conversation is there between the two of you, or are you very much in your own like bubble?
Yeah, I think I'm more in my own bubble. Most people say that I'm very different on the course than off the course. I'm very talkative off the course, and always like a good laugh. But I think I changed my mindset and I actually get serious, is what people
Mm.
say on the course. I actually had my teammate caddying for me, Michael O'Berry, and she helped a lot with that because she knows how I am on the course, and she knows my game. So it was good to have her there. She knew what to say at the right times, and
Mm.
she knew when to talk to me and when not to talk to me. So it was good fun.
Yeah, that's actually such a vibe, because obviously,
Yeah.
if you don't have, if you've got more of an unknown relationship with your caddy, I'd imagine it's not ideal in such a high pressure situation.
Yeah, exactly. I was just lucky to have her there, and we she was came in with me as a freshman, so we've been together for 3 years. We know how each other's games are, and our
Mm.
like emotional roller coaster, if you can say it like that, on the
Yeah,
course. So we just, yeah, she knew how to keep me in the zone.
yeah. And I mean, like, at what point when you were closing the gap down the stretch, did you think, okay, cool, now I've actually got a realistic chance of actually turning this around and finishing it off?
Yeah, so I said to my caddy on hole 15, I said, if we can just win this one, put a little bit more pressure on her, we can try close it out. And I won 15, and then I was first off the tee and hit it to a foot. So that obviously added a lot of pressure on her. and she actually ended up missing the green. And then I said to my caddy, I was like, this is the time that we need to put extra pressure on her on 17T, because she was playing really well and making every putt. I'll give her that. And my caddy said, listen, if we put pressure on her, she won't be able to hold that for the rest of the round. So I managed to do that. And then the 2 extra holes that we played, both times I missed the green and both times I lipped out my chip. So it was just, I mean, it all just fell into place.
Are you? I mean, if you had to describe your game for someone that's never seen it, I mean, are you pretty solid in all departments? I mean, clearly you're quite a good iron player, and your short game is pretty solid as well. And Ivana Same was telling me you hit it pretty far as well. So, I mean, how would you, if you had to sort of sum it up in a few sentences, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I think I would say like all round consistent. I wouldn't say I'm the best at anything in the States. Obviously, I've been comparing myself to college golfers, but I wouldn't say I'm the best in anything, but I wouldn't say I'm the worst. So I'm just pretty consistent when it comes to everything. When my putting is on, it's on. So that's what most of my teammates say, that like once I get the ball rolling and making a few putts, not many people can stop me, if you want to say it like that. Yeah.
And by the sounds of it, you've obviously got the putter working quite a lot over the last 3 years, which we'll get into in a bit. But yeah, I mean, what is it like? Obviously, as I said earlier, it must have been quite like draining to turn around that particular deficit in that game. And then, I mean, how easy is it for you to get up and get amped for the next game?
Yeah, I think it was a bonus for me that the next game was actually Rachel Keane. So I knew what I had to do to try and beat her, and I knew what a good player she was. So I think it was just that mindset that kept me going. And on the golf course, I don't really feel like it's draining or anything like that. Afterwards, I was very tired, but I ended up playing 37 holes, so not only one too many, So it ended up not being that bad at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I mean, what are your overall impressions of the week? I mean, obviously you did ultimately lose in the quarters to the eventual winner, if I'm not mistaken. So does that make it sort of slightly easier to accept? I mean, obviously she went on to beat Gabby Ruffles, who was the defending champ. I mean, so, and I think she's 9th in the world, if I'm not mistaken. So, like, does that make it a bit easier to take, or was it still pretty disappointing in the moment?
Yeah, obviously I was pretty disappointed after my round. I mean, I was 3 over, so I couldn't really compete with anyone on that day in the field. But I think she didn't have her best day either, but she just got me on not one of my best days. And good for her that she got through it and actually won the tournament. And I mean, she's a great player. Everything's just very consistent. Hits probably every fairway and every green. And once the putts started dropping for her, she was obviously able to beat Gabby. And I think I was disappointed at the time, but looking back now, I think I'd rather lose to the winner than lose to someone that didn't win. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, I'm sure you must be pretty pumped to try and qualify for the one next year. See if you can go 1 or 2 better.
Yeah. So I actually get an exemption making quarterfinals. You get an exemption into next year.
Oh, yes.
That's so cool. I was pretty excited about that. And now that I know what the ins and outs are, I would love to try and get it a little bit further.
Yeah. Now let's go way back to the beginning. So, if I read your bio correctly, you took up the game at 7. What sort of drew you to it in those early years?
So I ended up playing every sport at primary school, and golf happened to be one of them. And my coach at the time, it was like a quolf where you just hit around on the cricket field with plastic golf balls, and he recognized something, and he told my parents that I should go to the World of Golf, the 10-week camps. And ever since then, I just loved it, I guess.
Oh, sick. Because that's one of those, at that age, it can go one of two ways. I mean,
Yeah.
10 weeks is quite hectic. So it's like,
Yeah.
if you're not enjoying it, it can become pretty long. But
Yeah.
that's so cool that you enjoyed it. And what other sports did you, if I'm not mistaken, you played hockey, soccer, and also captained the under 13 cricket side, which is quite wild.
Yeah, I just enjoyed being outside and playing everything I could. So yeah, I played cricket in primary school, and then I gave up cricket, and just because it's not very good for your golf swing. That elbow from a cover drive doesn't do well with the golf swing. But I ended up playing hockey, soccer, and water polo in high school. And I think the fitness from water polo and soccer actually really helped my game a lot, without even knowing. Just looking back now, I could see that it did. So I think it actually helped a lot of my golf game, even though it took time off me practicing.
But in a way, do you think also sort of having that, that variety of sport and stuff, it actually, I suppose, maybe put less pressure on you to perform on the golf course because you had so much else going on as well?
Yeah, definitely. I was, to be honest, in high school, I was more worried about the soccer team than my golf game. So, and then that was grade 8 and 9. And then grade 10, my parents said to me that I should probably start choosing a sport to like go ahead and go full on and get to college. And they didn't really mind which sport I chose. It was all up to me, and they just said that you need to pick one so you can get into American college, whatever it is. And I ended up picking golf, and yeah, here I am today.
Yeah, it seems like it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school at St. Peter's College, and then and then in grade 10, when I end of grade 10, I think it was, I chose my sport, and it was golf. And obviously golf is very time consuming, so I had to move schools to a smaller school where they helped me with my academics, and there was no other sporting distractions, so I could just focus on my golf. And that was called Education Incorporated.
Yeah, because it's pretty wild. I mean, like, I'm quite good mates with Luca Philippi, and he was a couple of years behind me at Rondebosch before he moved back to Milnerton. And it's like, I mean, I think when he was on like grade 6 or whatever, he missed like 12 weeks of school, whatever. And that's like even under 13, like playing events in like India and stuff, which can be pretty tough, I'd imagine, to balance.
I think it was tough to manage, but it taught me a lot about how to manage each area. So when I was doing academics, I was full on in academics, not thinking about anything else. And when I was playing golf or practicing, I was full on practicing and not thinking about anything else. So yeah, I think it actually helped me being so busy, in that I can completely focus on the task at hand. And
Did you ever find that, like, I mean, I know you've just said that you compartmentalized quite well, but did you ever find that, if you had an assignment like hanging over your head or whatever, that your golf would be a bit average on the day because you'd be like thinking about that or have it in the back of your mind?
Yeah, so I tend to do that more now in college than anything else.
Okay.
At home, my teachers were very understanding, and I really didn't have any due dates as long as I got the work done before the end of the year.
Yeah, that's
So,
cool.
yeah, that helped a lot. And honestly, I don't or didn't enjoy school. I was just there because I had to be.
Sure.
So school never crept into my golf, but golf crept into my school more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now that you're at college, what are you studying?
I'm studying wildlife enterprise management. So it's basically a degree in wildlife science and then like 2 minors in hospitality and business, where I would basically use it at home at like a game lodge or yeah, something like that with where golf is involved.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I don't really want to use the degree yet. I'd
No, for
rather
sure.
turn pro and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I mean, 2014 was quite an interesting year because obviously you won the World Junior event at Langebaan and also went to the Youth Olympics, which must have been wild. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, what happens to the schoolwork in that situation? I mean, do you travel with your books and have to do a bit of work like while you're on the road, or what does that look like?
Um, yeah, that was definitely probably my busiest year for me. But yeah, I always used to bring all my textbooks with me, my notes, and everyone that I traveled with always used to joke with me that my bags were always overweight, and I always used to say it's because of all my books. And I never used to open them. So it was honestly a waste of weight. But I think I just managed myself where I got everything done before I left and then didn't have to worry about anything. And then when I came back, just grind it out, take a few weeks off golf, and just focus on that.
Was the win at Langebaan sort of like one of the first moments where you realized you're like I'm not just the sort of run of the mill amateur, like I'm pretty good?
Um, yeah, so the year before that at the World, what is it called? World Series. Um, I finished third, and that was my best finish from like amateur golf. And then that year, for some reason, I just loved that tournament.
Okay.
And again, there was TV out there, and I think that's what
Mm.
made the big difference. But um, yeah, I guess that was probably my biggest win at that point. And yeah,
You won the same year that Garrick won, eh? I think it was.
yes.
Yeah. How does that work? Do the events run in parallel, or is it like are they consecutive weeks? Or
No, it's actually all together. We all stay in like the same place. At Langebaan, we stayed in these little houses. It's a pretty fun tournament, actually. We all go to dinner with everyone. I met a lot of friends there, and I think we alternate the tea time. So one day the men go first, and then the girls, and then
mm.
vice versa. Yeah.
Oh, that's quite sick.
Hmm.
Definitely adds to the vibe, and then at least I
Yeah.
mean if the golf doesn't go well, which obviously it did go quite well for you, but at least if it didn't, then you'd have something to sort of
Yeah.
enjoy after the fact.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
it was quite an interesting sort of read for me, sort of seeing your scores. I'm just trying to pull them up. So let me just see. Yeah, so you opened with 79
Hmm.
and you shot 69 in round two. I mean, what is that? What is that transition like? Like flipping the switch and sort of
Yeah.
putting it behind you. I mean, do you have any sort of like techniques or whatever that you employ, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I'm actually one to do that pretty often where I have a bad round at the start and then able to bring it back. But my thing is it's not you can't what's that quote? It's you can't win it on the first day, but you can lose it.
100%.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'm very good at like just putting it behind me, and obviously once you shoot 79, you have nothing to lose. Yeah, it could probably get worse, but my mindset is it can't get worse, so just go out there and yeah. So I think I use that still now till today, and that was probably the first tournament that I actually realized that it's not over until the fat lady sings. So yeah, and I think that 69 was my best score ever at that point. So it was quite a thing at the time.
And as you sort of coming through the ranks, I mean, how much do you lean on the older players who've maybe been around a bit longer? I mean, I think Ivana is what, 1 or 2 years older than you, if I'm not mistaken. Like, do you sort of like pick her brain or pick anyone else's brain about like how things work and how you adjust to different tournaments or different courses and stuff?
Yeah, I think me and Ivana were like more on the same page at the time.
Okay.
So I mostly relied on Nobuhle Dlamini and Kim Williams
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and those players. And Nobuhle was actually a very good mentor for me. She helped me a lot, just knowing what tournaments to play, how to go about them. We had a few evenings where we just sat down with her and asked her all the ins and outs. So she helped me a lot, and she was obviously also a big hitter. She used to outdrive me by at least 30 yards at that point. So I always looked up to her, and that was basically my goal, to hit it as far as Navi, and I think that helped me. Yeah, moving forward.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, I've interviewed Cara, I've interviewed Ivana, I've interviewed Cassandra Hall, and all of them seem to, in their own way, have this obsession with hitting it far. Like, it's
Yeah,
so
I
so
think it's
funny.
just a thing with us. It just makes the golf course a whole lot easier when you can have
Yeah,
wedges in instead of forehands,
no, for sure. But it's interesting to me how, I mean, the one thing I learned from my interview with Cara is that Matric actually brought out the best in her golf. I mean, she had some pretty good results in Matric in 20, I think it was 2014, and you the same in 20, I presume 2016, eh?
16, I think, yes.
Yeah, because you went to the World Amateur with, I think, Cara and Ivana to Mexico, and you also won the SA Stroke Play, which I presume would have been sort of while you're just starting to settle into Matric. I mean, is it weird to sort of look back and realize that you had that success even though there was all of the sort of academic pressure, because obviously I presume college sort of hinged on how you did in Matric.
Yeah, so I think at the beginning of matric year, I sat down with my parents, and we decided that I'm gonna not play golf after October, I think it was. So we just sat down together and decided that these first 6, 7, 8 months or whatever of the year, I need to just go out there and make a name for myself and try play the best golf, because I'm not going to play for the 3 months while writing prelims and finals.
Yeah.
So I think it just helped me like get kick-started the year with a very competitive and mindset for me to just get started well and try get a few wins, and then give it up and focus on matric. So I think that was a big thing for me. And then obviously at that point I hadn't won an SA amateur yet.
Yeah.
So, and that had been my goal ever since I started golf. So I think I knew that was the last time ever I'd be able to play, because I would be going to college the next year. So I think that just also drove me to succeed.
Yeah. And before I get too sidetracked, Ivana asked me to ask you about an incident with a heater when you guys were in England. Do you want to shed a bit of light on what happened there?
Yeah, I think it was probably a have to be there moment, but I'll share it anyway. So obviously we traveled a lot together. We became very good friends. But anyway, obviously it's freezing outside in I think it was Wales or England. And it was freezing cold outside, and all we wanted was like our house to be warm when we came in. So we turned the heaters on. They were those stick-on wall heaters, and we turned it on not knowing the temperature when we left the house, and we came back, and it was extremely hot, like couldn't even breathe type of hot. And the windows don't open there, and my bed ended up being right next to this heater. And while we were trying to turn it down, the thing broke off. So the heat was on, and that was how it was going to be for the rest of the week, because we couldn't turn the knob down. And I'll just never forget, I got into bed and I was so hot, so I wanted to like stick my feet out the thing and touch this heater with my foot and just burnt my foot so bad. Yeah, so I mean, I think it was a have to be there moment, but it was just funny that we broke it, and then now I had to deal with this heater, and we had to rearrange the whole room to get my bed away from the heater.
Crisis. But yeah, I mean, you obviously did have that success early on in matric, but then at what point did the offer from Auburn come along?
I think it was August.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd been talking to them for a while, but the official offer came August of my matric year, and then I had to sign for them in November.
Okay. And were there any other offers on the table that sort of made the decision more difficult?
Yeah, there was a few offers. I was looking at North Carolina, Kansas State, but I went on a visit. I think it could have been August or September of my matric year, and I visited those three schools, and I walked onto Auburn's campus and said to my mom, "This is the one. I don't need to visit anywhere else." So yeah.
That's epic. That's epic, because I think, people aren't always immediately sure, but it's cool that you had that opportunity to actually see it before so you sort of knew roughly what you were getting into. Because I'd imagine it's pretty hectic if you're just going in blind and don't really know what to expect.
Yeah, a lot of us from South Africa do go in blind, but I just had that time, so we decided that it would be better to visit, especially because I had other offers. So I needed to choose based on something. So yeah.
And then what was that initial transition like? Because it's a massive culture shock, and I've interviewed maybe at least 5 or 6 people who, I mean, they like split down the middle. I mean, someone like Cara really enjoyed her time at Arkansas. Dylan Naidu, for example, didn't. Gary Kiger at UNLV wasn't a fan. That's why he turned pro, and the list goes on. But I mean, was your transition pretty smooth, and did you immediately enjoy it?
Yeah, so I have to say the first 2 months I probably didn't enjoy. I was obviously homesick. I was up to my eyeballs in schoolwork and golf, and I actually missed the first tournament, and didn't know what was going to happen, if I was going to make any tournament, because obviously we have to qualify against our own team.
Yeah.
And my coach sat me down one day and after the first tournament and said, "You don't have to qualify for this next tournament. I'm not going to take you in the first 5, but I'm going to take you as an individual. I just want to see how you play on the course in competition." And I think that was the best thing for me. I ended up coming, I think it was second in the team that was there, and I was playing as an individual. So I think that was like the turning point for me, where my coach started to believe in me, and I started to believe in myself that I can actually make the team. So I actually got exempt into the next tournament, and then from there, I've been able to make most of the tournaments. So I think that was the thing for me, and staying at home is just not fun when all your teammates are traveling to all these places playing tournaments. So once I started traveling, I started having fun, and yeah, I've loved it ever since.
Yeah, and I suppose, I mean, being part of a team is like, it makes it so much more enjoyable, because, obviously you want to play well as an individual, but when you can actually contribute to the team and help them do well, it's quite cool. I mean, I think, just trying to think, the first event you won in 20, when was it, 20, I want to say 2018?
18,
Or
I think. Yeah,
2018, yeah.
November. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was actually also, it coincided as being Auburn's first win as a team since 2014.
Yeah.
I mean, that must have been pretty cool to, have like two things go your way in a big way that week.
Yeah. So that was, I think it was my sophomore year, in November, and we were all just so excited to be going to Mexico to play in a tournament. And none of us really believed in ourselves as a team or individuals, that we'd actually be able to win a tournament.
Yeah.
And I just remember a conversation that we had with our sports psychologist before that tournament saying, like, you guys are here because you can play golf. And we just needed to believe in ourselves. And I think that was also just a turning point for us as a team. There was very top colleges there. Um, Texas Longhorns was there, Florida Gators, like it was all the top teams. And that was the first tournament we went there saying our goal is to win and not to come top 5 or top
Yeah.
10 or whatever it was. So I think ever since then that was our mindset, and we've just strived off that. And obviously, if you want to win as a team, you got to do well individually.
Yeah.
And I have a thing about I never want to let the team down. So I think that helped me to win that tournament as well. Just wanting to win myself, and that would help us win as a team.
Yeah, but it's interesting what you say about, like, not getting out of the mindset of thinking, oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna like finish top 5 and we'll be happy with that. Like, actually thinking about winning, and it's almost like as you sort of set the bar a bit higher,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's highly likely that the end result is going to be a lot better than it would have otherwise been. But how would you describe, or like sort of compare and contrast the sort of competitive level of like top college golf in the States to top amateur golf here?
It's completely on a different level. Obviously, our golf is good in South Africa, and we're able to compete ourselves against the rest of the world. But like being number one in South Africa, you think you pretty good at golf, and then you come here and you number one in South Africa, and you come here and you 100 in the States or in college golf. So it was a huge eye opener for me, that coming from winning a few tournaments in South Africa and then coming here and can't even finish in the top 20. So I think that is a way that I've got just better, and improved my practicing and getting better as a player, is that I just had to work so much harder to compete here, to win than in South Africa.
Yeah. And I suppose, I mean, if you're enjoying the team environment, I mean, it makes such a difference if if you're working with your mates and you all sort of striving to play better golf. I mean, would you say that that was a contributing factor to your sort of success over the years?
Yeah, definitely. I was lucky with my team. We're all very close, but we also all serious about golf. So
Yeah.
like practicing together and always having like small competitions for like a little reward or whatever, obviously that helps. And if you have someone that's really good at chipping, you always want to chip against her, so that you can just get better, and everyone just helps each other everywhere here. And yeah, it's definitely been a big help.
Do you think that sort of, I mean, would you describe the success you've had to, I mean, I think you've gone 93rd, no, sorry, 92nd, 53rd, and now 12th, this most recent year. I mean, would you just put that down to, sort of working with your teammates, working with your coach, and I mean, I think my question is rather like, how sort of goal oriented are you? Is that something that's on your mind all the time, or?
Yes, I'm very goal orientated. I write down my goals beginning of each year, and so every year you have to submit your goals to our coach, and she obviously does everything she can for us to achieve our goal. And I think so the first year was some of my goals were like winning my first college event or just making the team. And obviously that helped me to start off in college. But again, my coach sat me down and said, listen, like your goals need to be more difficult than this.
Sure.
And I think that's when I started to really improve my game. And we were working to something that was just not just per tournament, but bigger than that. And my ultimate goal was All-American. And I ended up getting that last year, which was a huge thing. And I was just, so happy about that. And I think my coaches, my sports psychologist, my teammates, everyone just is driven in the same way. So you don't want to be the one left behind, So I think that helps a lot. And I'm really grateful for that and for whatever Auburn's done for me.
And do you think, I mean, it's wild to think you've literally got a sports psychologist you can chat to whenever. I mean, having those resources must be quite cool, but also sort of put into perspective what you need to have in place when you do turn pro, if you go that route.
Yeah, exactly. Now at home in the elite squad, they're really stepping up their game, and also have sports psychologists in, trackman specialists, and fitness coach and all of that. But when they started bringing all those aspects in, I only started like moving my way into college. So I didn't really have that as a junior in South Africa. And I think now, looking back, that would have helped me a lot with the transition into college, but also improving my game earlier than I did. But I'm just glad that I was able to get all those resources here. And it just shows how valuable they are, and that you actually need them,
Yeah. So we're nearly 50 minutes in, and I still haven't asked you about Augusta. So I just want to sort of squeeze that in before. I mean, obviously you had a very, very good week. You finishing 12th, and again, I think you went. Let me just get this right. So you shot 69 in the first round, and then 78 in the second, and then came back with 71. So again, sort of being able to put those poor rounds behind you. But what was I mean, it must have been the most surreal experience.
Yeah, so for the first two rounds, obviously you had to make the cut of 32 players, I believe it was, to actually play Augusta in the competitive round. So obviously that was my goal. And then shooting 69 in the first round, I think I put a little bit too much pressure on myself to try get myself into a lead. I think I was lying third at that point. So I think that was my downfall in the second round. But I ended up being on the cut line to make the cut and play at Augusta the next day.
Yeah.
And it was a play of 11 players for 10 spots. And so it wasn't at least it wasn't 11 players for one spot, but
still, you don't want to be that one that
yeah, exactly. And I was just lucky with my draw that I was out first. I was the first 3-ball out, and I knew that if I just made par, someone was going to make bogey. It was a pretty tough hole. And again, all the cameras were on. It was live on TV, and I mean, crowds galore. And yeah, that helped me again, and I managed to make par on the first hole, and then made it to Augusta. And then from there, I mean, zero expectations. I was just so happy to be out playing Augusta. I mean, what an incredible experience it was. The crowds were 3/4 of the Masters crowds.
What?
So it
That's
was,
insane.
I mean, unbelievable. My dad was my guest, so he could come with me, but my mom had to go and wait in a line, show her ticket, like go in the spectator entrance. Like, it was unbelievable. And the one hole, I saw my mom like sitting on the stands watching me, and I think that was just like, I don't know, it's so humbling that what a great tournament was, and all the support that we got. Yeah, it was unbelievable.
No, that's wild. And I mean, what's your take on, now that they've come out with a tournament that allows women the opportunity to actually play such a cool course?
Yeah, I mean, just unbelievable the work that they put in to be able to get this event. And it's just amazing that the first women's event at Augusta is an amateur event.
Yeah.
So obviously it shows something, the work that's being put behind amateur women's golf, and increasing that, and ultimately will increase the support and spectators for professional golf.
Yeah. And what do you have to do this season to get into next year's one?
So actually they did the selection for
pre-COVID.
it meant to be, we meant to play April this year. Is it this year? Yeah. And obviously COVID happened, so we didn't get to play, and I got an invite again back. So they extended those invites to everyone that was invited this year. April gets to play next year, and then we'll have a slightly bigger field. So
yeah, and hopefully no 11-player playoff.
Yeah, exactly.
But what is your season, or what does your year look like now that COVID has sort of thrown a bit of a spanner in the works?
Yeah, honestly, it's all very unknown at the moment. We hoping to start playing October, and try get 3 events in before the end of the year. But if anything happens with COVID or anything else, we probably won't play. So at the moment, it's just all unknown, and it changes day by day.
No, it's wild, but
Yeah.
fingers crossed that something does improve.
Yeah, hopefully we can just get 1 or 2 tournaments in by the end of the year.
Yeah. And then, I'm very, very conscious of the time. We've got 6 minutes if you hold me to that hour, like on the dot. But what are your plans? I mean, I know you sort of said that professional golf is something that's on your mind, but what do what's going to be the sort of deciding factor? I mean, is there anything that you've got to do for you to sort of be like,
so I'm in my senior year now. We got given an extra year eligibility because of COVID. So my plan is, I'll see how I'm playing next spring and some of the fall. And if I'm playing good and I think I can compete in Q school, I think I want to go to Q school next year, September, I think it is. And then depending on what happens there, if I make Q school and get my card, then I'll probably not carry on with Auburn for my 5th year. And if I don't, then I'll carry on with Auburn, play nationals my 5th year, and then hopefully I can get my golf up during that summer leading up to the next Q school. And yeah.
It's quite sick that you've got so many options there.
Yeah. It was very lucky that we got this 5th year to play golf. It was, it's helped me a lot with everything. I was a little bit behind with studies, but now I'll be all on par to graduate in time and be able to stay here and try go to Q school.
Oh, that's epic. But just a couple of quick fire questions, and then we'll let you get on with your day. Do you have a lecture now?
Yeah.
Bleak.
Yeah.
Those are never fun.
Yeah.
But that's probably an easy answer, but your favorite course you've ever played?
Augusta.
Yeah, I thought that maybe the case. And the proudest moment from an achievement standpoint in your golf career, like an event that you've won, or
I think it would more be getting All-American. Last year. That's just a pretty high achievement.
And your favorite club in your bag?
My putter.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
And if you could play one course for the rest of your life that wasn't Augusta, what would it be?
I'd say Torrey Pines.
Sick. I presume you must have played it.
I played there a while ago now. It was probably 5-6 years ago. But
okay.
yeah.
Oh, so actually well before college.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very that's epic. But thank you so much for your time. It's been
Thank you for having me.
And hopefully we'll do it again next year when you win the US Women's Am.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be good.
Yeah, but enjoy the lecture.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks again. Cool.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers.